Hello friends, welcome back to CTRL+S. So yesterday in episode 1, we stepped back a little bit and took a look at the big picture, like how this series works, why I am even documenting my processes in the first place, and how I'm using CTRL+S to build out the school year in real time. Today, we're going to narrow the focus quite a bit. This episode is all about day 1, how I plan to welcome students back and set the tone for the year ahead. My motto for the start of the year is simple: start out as you mean to end. And that basically means that we show up on day 1 with the same focus and commitment that we want to carry through all the way to June. Today's mission is to figure out exactly what I want that first day to look like. Not just what I want students to hear or do, but what they'll feel, what they'll experience when they walk in. This is about showing students what the class is really about, giving them the confidence that they can do this work, and setting expectations and helping them feel grounded from the very start. So let's go ahead and break down what day 1 should look like in each of my 3 classes. So in digital design and illustration, we're going to start off with bell work. And the question is going to be, what does design mean to you? And describe what a designer actually does. This should give me an idea of how much information they have about the world of graphic design, and it gives me just a good place to start for conversation. And then we'll walk through the first day presentation. It's basically a slideshow that I created. It's the same presentation I give parents during the back to school night presentation. And that will give me an opportunity to talk about who I am, what my background is, and what they can expect from the class for the whole year. Then we'll talk about the design pathway, and that is essentially talking about that digital design leads to the visual communications class, which leads to the Design Rescue Studio. And I'll explain what that is all about. And then we'll talk about I'll preview some of the major projects that we have coming up. I'll bring out the student samples that I've got, student work samples that'll show them what they have to look forward to. And we'll explain the folder setup on Google Drive, how it should work. This is something I'll probably have to reiterate several times throughout the year. But we'll also walk through Google Classroom, and if they're unfamiliar with that, I'll show them how that works. And, if time allows, typically we'll have some extra time left over. I'll walk them through my portfolio. I'll pull out my sketchbooks, and we'll talk about the importance of sketching. Then in visual communications, we're going to start that class with bell work as well. But the question for them will be, what do you think visual communications actually means? And once they're done with that, we'll talk about it as a class. And we'll go over the syllabus. We'll talk about what they can expect in this class over the year. I'll explain to them the progression of the pathway that Design Rescue comes after this class. So this is really preparation for that class, getting them ready to do higher level, more advanced work. Then I'll give them an introduction to the art history units that we're going to have throughout the year. There will be 4. Then I'll introduce them to the very first one, which is a study on the Bauhaus. We'll talk about what it is. I'll show them some examples. We'll discuss what they see and talk about how the principles stand out in that the Bauhaus movement. Then we'll talk about that first project, which is going to be a fun one. It's a trading card design project, and I believe, if I remember correctly, they'll be designing 10 trading cards in the Bauhaus style. And so that should be fun. That should be fun. And I'm not going to assign it just yet. I'm going to talk about it. But at the end of the class period, we'll probably have some more time where they can begin to collect their mood board for that project. Just go out and find examples of Bauhaus references, text, graphics, colors, and all of that, just to help get their heads straight about where we're heading in that movement. And then in the Advanced and Honors Graphic Design class, we're going to start with bell work as well. Their question will be, what does it mean to act like a designer? And then we'll have a discussion about that. And we'll talk about the Design Rescue Studio, what the workflow should be like, and what our roles will be. Just to let you know, essentially, and we'll cover this in more depth, but each student, when they're working with a client, will be paired with an art director, another student who helps them in the process of brainstorming or helps, guide them through, give them feedback and all of that. So that's coming up as well. And then we'll talk about client work in general. We'll talk about the studio culture. We'll talk about the soft skills and the things that they're going to need to build into their portfolio by the end of the year. So let me walk you through how I built the curriculum maps that I'm using. I went back to my archived Google Classroom pages. I went all the way back to 2020 and I restored each of those archived classes. And then I went into the settings and turned on full stream visibility, and so that in the stream section, in that tab, you can see the full description and all of the attachments for everything that I posted. And then I went ahead and did a Control-P or Command-P if you're on a Mac, and printed the page, but I'm not printing it to my printer, I'm setting it to print to PDF. That way I can preserve everything, the assignment text, the links, the dates, and everything that was included on that page. I've saved it all as a digital document. And then what I can do is upload those PDFs into ChatGPT, and I work through them to compile a list of bell work, of projects, of lesson sequences, and any notes that I've left from year to year. That's a great way to gather all of that information. And that's basically how I have created the curriculum maps. It's a simple process, but it gives you a complete view of all of the teaching choices that you've made throughout the years. Now, of course, right now, we're just basically brainstorming. We're figuring out exactly what we want to cover. We're talking about it and documenting, what we will cover in those days, those first days of school. But when they happen and when we actually get to it and I start putting in the assignments, I will absolutely share with you the descriptions that I'm using, the links and any attachments that I add into it. We'll go a lot more into a lot more detail at that time. In tomorrow's episode, we're going to work on planning out day 2. In digital design, we're going to talk about a book called Steal Like an Artist. It's by Austin Kleon. It's a great exercise in learning where new creative ideas come from. In visual communications, we're going to go deeper into the Bauhaus movement. We'll watch a few short videos, we'll have some group discussion, and we'll let them continue developing their mood boards and visual references before we get into that first assignment. And in Design Rescue, the Advanced and Honors class, we'll focus on pairing junior designers into design teams made up of one designer and one art director. And we'll discuss their roles and responsibilities as they work together on their client projects. One last thing before I wrap up, I just want to say that what you can expect from this series, Control+S. Some of the videos may be fairly brief because we may not have a lot to cover in that day, but then others may go a bit longer as I take time to go over the details in a full assignment that I am working on, right? And still other times I might just take you with me as I go out into the world to find ideas for new projects. Sometimes I like to go to places like grocery stores or the mall or Knott's Berry Farm or Disneyland or something like that to get ideas to create a project based on the work that I see in the real world. I like to take reference photos, I'll deconstruct what I see, and then I'll see if there's a way that I can turn that into a project my students can mimic. And so on that note, thank you again for joining me today on Control+S, and I'll see you again tomorrow. I'm not just a graphic designer and a high school teacher, I am also an author. I wrote a book called The Dragon Codex, Quest for the Relics of Design. This is a great story about 3 young dragons who have to learn graphic design to save the world from creative destruction. It's a book for young adults, and it's a story about family, it's a story about friendships, and a story about finding your place in the world. Pick up a copy today, I know you'll love it.